Wicked star Cynthia Erivo is trying to unshine what could be otherwise a fantastic box office for the Broadway musical adaptation. But what is sweeping over the nation other than her vile tweets, her bad responses? Well, now, perhaps an apology. But is it worth it and will it matter? We'll explain why Wicked is going to do wacko no matter what. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we endeavor as ever to explain entertainment in a way you simply will not hear anywhere else. Today we have a bit of division on the panel, as some say that Wicked could come under the projections, and I say that I think it's going to tap into that Barbie audience and do quite well. Who's right, who's wrong? We'll let you decide. Highest IQ on the internet, that's you. So folks, click the like button. Panel, let's have at it.
Yeah.
Out of people, Cynthia Erivo reflects on blasting fan-made Wicked poster. I probably should have called my friends. This is called a cleanup. Cynthia Erivo, cleanup on aisle Wicked, wrote on Instagram October 16th that a Wicked movie poster edited by a fan to better resemble artwork for the original Broadway show, quote unquote, degrades me. Of course, she can say that because she's the best Elphaba of all the Elphabas ever. Sorry, Adina. Cynthia Erivo is addressing her recent condemnation of the fan-edited Wicked poster that obscures her face. And this next paragraph, most people would skip over this. We don't do this on the Pro Show because when we get to this next paragraph, there's something that needs to be noticed. As Erivo, 37! This woman is 37 years old. She is not Zegler. She is not a kid. She is 37 years old, and she was saying,
you're referring to me, right?
Exactly. Yes, Paul, of course.
And I would prefer that you call me by my correct name, Elphaba Aqua.
Elphaba Aqua. Sounds like a very expensive water bottling company. But I got guys and girls, 37 years old, and claiming that a slightly photoshopped image that pays homage to the original poster is degrading and hides her, and that she's brave because she's going in front of cameras and staring at the She's 37! She's a full-grown adult! This is crazy! Anyway, moving on. She says, I'm passionate about it, and I know the fans are passionate about it. And I think for me, it was just like a human moment. Guys and girls, I don't recall the last time I didn't have a human moment. If you've been walking through the sidewalks of an urban area, or perhaps strolling through the idyllic scenes of a Thomas Kincaid-style rural setting, wherever you might be on planet Earth, if you ever wake up and think, I'm having a not human moment now, well, perhaps see a psychologist. So she had a human moment, just like apparently all of us always have, of wanting to protect little Elphaba. And it was like a human moment. I probably should have called my friends, but it's fine. This lady is bonkers. Let's just put it out there. She's bonkers, okay? Totally, 1,000% bonker level nuts. Panel, am I wrong? Am I being too harsh? We'll explain on the backside of this why this will not hurt the box office for Wicked whatsoever. But she's cray-cray, and studios need to stay away. What do you all say?
Yeah, wanting to protect Elphaba, nowhere in her tantrum where she threw an absolute hissy fit at this fan who in good faith did nothing more than hide her eyes in a little bit of shadow to more closely resemble an iconic image that resonates with fans of this IP. In nowhere there did she say Elphaba. She did do her warm-ups, though, for her vocals that day, because all it was me.
Well played, Marvin. Well played.
It was all about her. It's not about the character because the character doesn't exist. Everything that this woman says, and I've been covering this story very closely lately, everything that she says is about her. She is the one, and there's a history. She's a sordid history of acting like this to fans and stagehands and everyone.
Well, she's very depressing to me because she is a sign, she's a symbol that Zegler may never mature either. Because we have the same two personality. We have the same personality in two different people. Is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think the thing is, Pro, is that in theater, like on Broadway, where she spent most of her career, this kind of behavior is never cast in that much of the public eye the way Rachel Zegler is right now at 23. It just fosters and grows and becomes worse over time because these divas are allowed to just do whatever they want.
Well, she's doing what she wants. But here's a curiosity I have. Why did they pick someone who is 37 to play a college student? Like, what was it that made her? Why is she the choice in this? Michelle, do you have any insight into why they're doing what they're doing with the casting of all this?
I do not have any insight, but that is something that I've brought up as someone who really does love the play. I've seen it twice, listened to the soundtrack all the time. I think that they're just going to say because of her voice, because she does have a lovely voice and has been on Broadway for many years. But at the same time, you could have found so many women who are actually fit the age description of this character, who is like 18 to 19 years old. And that is, again, that's been my biggest thing. Why cast a 37-year-old to play an 18 or 19-year-old? It's just, that was just weird.
It's
and not only that,
she acts like an 18 or 19-year-old in real life. And just so people understand, this is what she had, an absolute, as it was called on here at the show, a hissy fit. I'm going to call it a full-blown meltdown, a teenage tantrum, is because on the left side, somebody had the audacity to make the movie poster look like the Broadway poster. And in doing so, although you can see her eyes in the movie poster, they're less visible in this alteration. Oh my goodness. And they changed her lipstick. Oh my goodness.
Apparently, Ms. Erivo is watching the show today, and we do have a reaction from her.
I'm 37. What? I'm 37. I'm not old.
Well played, brothers. Well played.
But, in keeping with like the why is a 37-year-old playing a 19-year-old, she talks constantly about the choices that she made with this character, the micro braids, the nails. When Elphaba shows up at school, she's supposed to be plain Jane bookworm. Now, if you want to go that route with the micro braids and the exquisitely manicured nails when you're the Wicked Witch of the West in the sequel, then sure, go nuts with that. But like, she's supposed to just be a bookworm, like she's a neglected child, and none of that is coming through in what we've seen of her thus far. It's got to be me, I, spotlight right here, please.
All right, Paul, we're a bunch of plebs trying to understand what's going on. Bunch of schlups over here. Explain to us, please. Does this have any impact on her career going forward? Any impact at all? Does this make a studio think 2 times, 3 times before hiring her, especially given that she's 37 and she brings significant baggage for PR efforts?
So there's a couple things from a studio perspective. Number one, she is a Tony Award winner. Mm-hmm. She does have a ton of experience on Broadway. Not that will necessarily help the box office, but we are living in an intersectional world, and where we have consistently talked about DEI hires. In the case of Wicked, it sort of kind of makes sense. I mean, we're talking about an audience, everyone wants to go to this modern audience. Well, that modern audience actually is the audience for Wicked, apart from the present, excluding, the company here that has seen Wicked and enjoyed it. I mean, there's a lot of, Broadway hounds out there. So in the end, I mean, show business is a very funny thing. There's going to be a lot of people who are disconcerted by what she has done, but the proof will always be in the movie, in much the same way that executives and critics will deride an Adam Sandler film, and then it becomes huge, and then they love him. Like, money talks.
Right, but it's the opposite. It's the opposite paradigm with Sandler, because Sandler takes care of and loves the fans and is
true,
extraordinary kind.
And I saw the brief interview with Cynthia on some runway recently, and being a comedian, I think I can catch people's vibes, and I got the sense that she was being very contrite, even at the egging of that let's call it very flamboyant interviewer that really wanted her to dig the pit even deeper.
Is that the same guy who asks all the time, is this the gayest Star Wars?
No,
His
that's not
only
the same
question
guy.
is about how gay is it.
No, that's a younger guy. There was another guy with, I think, an older guy who keeps asking that. It could be, but this guy looked younger, sounded a little squeakier. But I got the spider sense that she was a bit contrite and understood a little bit about what's going on. And maybe her handlers said, you know what, she's better off to just not say anything from here on in, as opposed to pissing off everyone. The one thing I got from the sexually ambiguous interviewer was just how much he expounded on her bravery for coming out and saying this. I mean, this is a very twisted community. A small portion of this, crazy, rabid community. And, it could be that even prior to her writing that thesis on Instagram, her flying monkeys got together and pointed out to her how horrible it was. And then she just went with it.
I hope you intended the joke there.
It might not have been her initial explosion. Now, you got to remember the hangers-on of show business personalities. They are the flying monkeys. And I think that's actually a pretty good description when we're talking about the Wizard of Oz. That was by accident.
You shouldn't have said that. You should have just let us all think that you are that kind of semantic genius. Folks, here's why, in my estimation, it's not going to matter. Here's why.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, this is going to have a fantastic opening.
Clayton Davis, Zach Scharf, the authors here. Wicked sends Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo into the Oscar race. First reactions call it a masterpiece and an absolutely stunning vision. It says Universal's Wicked has finally been unveiled to members of the film press who are praising John M. Chu's adaptation of the hit Broadway musical. The film's leads, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, are also earning raves across the board as the musical launches them into Oscar season as acting contenders. Variety's Katsy Stephen hailed the Wicked movie as a masterpiece, adding, Ariana Grande makes Glinda sparkle. She milks every moment with gusto, humor, and hair flips. John M. Chu added so much new life to the story that I can see why it needed to be 2 parts, well worth the 20-year wait. You'll notice she does not praise Erivo. Interesting. Journalist Simon Thompson was wowed by the movie's spectacle, calling it an absolutely stunning vision. Leads Erivo and Grande knock it out of the park. While this perhaps won't convert many anti-musical folks, genre fans and diehard Aussians will feast on this. And we don't have to read all of these, but it continues on in this fashion. And so what I would suggest to people is, before you think that she's actually sort of tanked the opportunity for this to do well at the box office, consider that more likely we are dealing with the Barbie audience with this one. Mm-hmm. We're dealing with the Inside Out 2 audience. And that demographic does not react the same way as Star Wars fans, as Marvel fans, as DC fans. Totally different. And so I don't think that her comments are going to be a detriment to the box office whatsoever. However, and I'll be interested to see what the panel thinks about this, more dangerous to this film, which they're turning into a franchise with a 2-parter, is the idea that the first film is not the entire film. And that is not being made very clear in the marketing. And I think you're going to see a lot of people who are not happy, especially with the idea that the second part, when they get into the second half of the musical, is going to feature a lot of original stuff. So they're kind of Trojan horsing you in to going and seeing this, which is following exactly along with the musical, the Broadway hit. And it's one of the greatest Broadway plays ever made, in my estimation, in terms of musicals. Guess what? The first half, the one you're going to see this year, follows it exactly. The second one, that many people don't even know there's a second one, that's where they're going to go off on their own way, their own modern adaptation. Culture UK back on screen. I'll toss it to you. You think that's going to be a problem for them? Bigger than Cynthia?
I think the bait and switch of dividing this film into 2 pieces is going to be a problem. I'm thinking that I don't know, unless you have more informed knowledge than I do, that they're actually going to finish where you would expect them to finish on part 1. But I think that a lot of the audience is going to be quite surprised by that. And the fact that it's not being advertised as such may also be.
My assumption, Culture, was they'll end at the typical intermission point. Is that not where they're going to end?
No, that well, actually no, they probably will. But you're 100% correct. We're going to get a bunch of new songs in part 2. That I think a lot of people are going to be like, "What is this?" And I was under the impression we were going to get 1 or 2 new songs in the first part, but I could be wrong.
I think you're going to get Dorothy in part 2.
Uh,
Dorothy,
I don't know.
in the musical, Dorothy alluded to.
Yeah,
you see her as a shadow at one point, and you hear her crying. But I think they're going to make her a full-on character in the second one to fill out.
I think you're going to get a flashback of Elphaba looking into the cradle of Dorothy and having visions of taking her out, a la Luke. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, well, I have a feeling. I have a feeling that this won't capture my interest, despite my interest in the Broadway rendition. And I think a lot of the audience now has been irritated. I'm going to say it that way to be kind. But I like I said, I don't think it's going to get the numbers people are thinking it's going to get. But I'm wrong about one.
The first one's going to culture. I think the first one's going to do bananas, and then I think the second one might do onions or tomatoes, depending on how this goes. But the first one, I think, is a guaranteed blockbuster. We'll see how that goes. And I, for one, am looking forward to the brand new song, "Define Sanity." It's going to be a great, great song.
Well, I was going to say
dividing humanity. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle.
Oh, you're okay. I was going to say something because I've been kind of having a difficult time figuring out what the box office will do for this. But someone brought up, and it's a good point. Could this movie, because it comes out the same day as Gladiator 2, which I mean is actually getting at least good reviews. We'll have to see. But could it have, someone said, could it have a Barbieheimer effect of having Wicked and Gladiator 2 releasing the same day, just like Barbie and Oppenheimer, where you've got the female-oriented movie and the male-oriented movie?
I'm about to say something that's going to get people irritated with me.
Uh-oh.
I don't think Gladiator 2 has as broad an appeal as they would like it to. I have a feeling it's not going to perform as well as they would like it to. And the original audiences maybe won't show back up for a repainted, what I would call this is Force Awakens storyline in a different time period. Which is kind of
culture. You qualified that. You said it's not going to do as well as they want it to. You're going to have to go into specifics here, culture. What's your up and over? What's this going to do, you think? Give me an approximation. Where's the box office going to land?
I think you're going to stick solidly under 400,000, or excuse me, 400 million global at the end of its entire run. I think it's going to run
culture. You are out on the edge, my friend.
Weekend. I look, Pro, my expectations are very low. They're really, and this is courtesy of Michelle. Thank you. They may be wanting a Barbenheimer effect, and that may be true, but I don't see that with this film. First of all, this film to me is hot garbage with that Pascal loser dude that's in everything now. And and then you have like Denzel Washington maybe, taking the cash on this one. So I'm kind of bummed out.
Who is Denzel playing this time?
He plays an arms dealer, much like the other guy who was a slave dealer for Gladiators. So he's in the same game. Again, what would Paul say? There's a pastiche applied to this of previous glories by better men.
Interesting.
Is that right, Paul? Is that the right way to say it? If I were an intellectual snobby Canadian,
I think so. Canadians aren't snobby. We just, make fun of Americans.
They're not snooty, they're suri.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like Michelle's assessment that you can, have the male-dominated audience on one side of the equation and then like more the female-dominated side on the other end. But the thing that I think is different here is that Moana 2 is the next weekend. Now, the early tracking on it didn't look super impressive, but
Vash, I think Moana comes out first and then Wicked. Is that right? We'll get our expert investigators on that. We'll find out. But Vash, I think Moana 2 comes out, and then actually the Universal has outplayed Disney here, and Wicked 2 comes out the week thereafter. And originally, I think they were coming out on the same weekend, and there was an adjustment made. So we'll look it up and see. We'll put our we've got a bunch of
Wicked is November 21st.
Moana 2 is November 27th.
Yeah, it's the week after.
Opposite.
Right.
Oh wow, Vash,
So
you
that-
nailed it. Good job.
Well,
Now-
that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because the PLFs are going to be what's really going to determine whether or not Wicked is going to be has long term viability, at least when it comes to the amount of revenue that could be accrued there. And to be in a 2-way race for those PLFs, or maybe in a 3-way race if you include Gladiator in that as well, that's going to be tough to kind of cut through that noise. So it's I think that's going to be the most interesting dynamic right there, because Moana 2 and Wicked have a lot more overlap than, let's say, Gladiator.
The only thing
that's gonna be interesting.
the only thing I'll add is that Wicked is outpolling Kamala.
Wouldn't be that hard. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing something that, if that's the case, that could be the opposite of what happened with Despicable Me 4 and Inside Out 2. Disney may have an unfortunate windowing in this situation.
Well, folks, we've come to the end of another video of pure excellence and fun, explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. That's what we hope you believe we've just done. And why should you believe it? Well, because we've done our very best to make it so, to be true, to be factual, and to do what the mainstream so-called access journalists simply won't. Folks, you can help share this out across the fruited plains of YouTube by clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, as we get ready to say sayonara for now, we ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep having fun.